Welcome to Horrible Fates, where the most unexpected and tragic endings to seemingly ordinary lives are examined. We will take some time to explore the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface of everyday existence. Welcome to The Cellar. On August 9th, 2014, an exhilarating night at the dirt track turned into a moment that would forever be etched in motorsports history. In the heat of competition, where adrenaline fueled the drive for victory, an unexpected incident on the track would forever change the lives of two men and spark a national conversation about the inherent dangers of racing. This is the story of the Tony Stewart and Kevin Ward Jr. incident. This is Horrible Fates Caught on Camera. Tragedy at the dirt track. The evening of August 9th, 2014, shimmered with the heat and roar of sprint car engines at Canandaigua Motorsports Park in upstate New York. Among the field of drivers that night was Tony Stewart, a seasoned NASCAR veteran, simply racing for the love of the sport. Also on the track that evening was Kevin Ward Jr., a young, aspiring racer who lived and breathed racing. As both drivers got into their sprint cars and prepared to race, they had no idea what nightmares laid ahead of them. Before we dive into the events of that night, let's first dive into a little backstory. Now, contrary to belief, Tony Stewart and Kevin Ward Jr. shared a lot of similarities with one another. Both men got their start in racing at a very young age. Stewart started racing go-karts in Westport, Indiana at the age of 7 or 8 in 1978. He quickly found success, winning his first championship at the Columbus Fairgrounds in 1980 at age 8. He went on to win 2 national-level karting championships, the 1983 International Karting Federation Grand National Championship and the 1987 World Karting Association National Championship. Like Tony Stewart, Kevin Ward started racing go-karts at 4 years old in 1998. During his 8 years in go-kart competition, Ward won 6 track championships and approximately 250 feature races, all before he turned 12. In 2007, Kevin Ward Jr. moved to the micro sprints division, winning 7 races and securing a runner-up finish in the overall points standings. He went on to win the Micro Sprint Championship in both 2008 and 2009, accumulating 30 wins total. In 1989, Tony Stewart transitioned from karts to 3/4 midgets in the United Midget Racing Association. He later moved into USAC in 1991, winning the USAC National Midget Series Championship in 1994 and 1995. In 1995, he became the first driver to win the USAC Triple Crown. In 1996, Stewart made a big move and began IndyCar racing. He would end up winning his first race and the series championship in 1997. Following his IndyCar career, Tony Stewart made the move to NASCAR. He joined the Cup Series in 1999 with Joe Gibbs Racing. Tony Stewart won 3 races in his rookie season, and he went on to win 3 Cup Series championships in 2002, 2005, and 2011. When Tony Stewart retired as a full-time NASCAR driver, he had 49 wins and 3 championships to his name. He would be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2020. Kevin Ward Jr. transitioned to the Empire Super Sprint 360 Sprint Car Division in 2010. He was named the ESS Rookie of the Year in 2010 and secured his first sprint car victory in June of 2011 at Autodrome Drummond. He continued his success with wins at Autodrome Granby and Evan Mills Speedway in 2013. Kevin's passion for racing was evident from his early years, driven by a desire to one day compete in the World of Outlaws series. The World of Outlaws is a premier American dirt track racing series. The organization is often referred to as the greatest show on dirt. As Tony Stewart built a name for himself in NASCAR, his roots in dirt racing were not forgotten. Tony would often race at local dirt tracks all across the United States. Often the prize money was pennies compared to what Tony made in NASCAR. In fact, Tony made over $130 million in prize money throughout his NASCAR career. Mind you, that is just winnings and doesn't take into account sponsorships and more. Now, the reason I point this out is the night of August 9th, 2014, the prize money for this local dirt track race was only $1,500. So you may ask, what was Tony Stewart, a famous NASCAR driver, doing racing at the track that night? Well, it's simple. Race car drivers love to race, and dirt track racing is one of the purest forms of racing. Many NASCAR drivers got their start there, and many NASCAR drivers continue to race in dirt whenever they have the opportunity. They plain and simply do it for the love of racing. So what exactly is sprint car racing? Well, sprint car racing is an adrenaline-fueled form of motorsports featuring high-powered, lightweight, open-wheel race cars that compete on short oval tracks, which can be made of dirt or pavement. The cars are built on a tubular chassis and have very powerful engines, up to 900 horsepower or more, which allows them to reach speeds over 160 miles per hour on short tracks. Sprint cars are typically divided into two main categories, winged and non-winged. The large adjustable wings on the top and front of winged sprint cars are used to generate massive amounts of downforce, which presses the tires into the track for increased grip and handling. While some sprint car races are on paved ovals, the most common and traditional format is on dirt. The surface is often a clay mixture engineered for optimal grip, and races are known for their fast-paced, wheel-to-wheel action. I myself grew up going to the track on the weekend. My uncle raced at Lebanon Valley Speedway in upstate New York, and going to the track was always an action-packed thrill. I know racing is not something everyone loves or even understands, but being in the stands and watching those cars slide around a dirt track at around 160 miles per hour, well, it's a thrill for sure. At the Canandaigua racetrack, the green flag was soon out, and the feature event began. It was a thrilling race for those in attendance that night. The pivotal moment would soon arrive on lap 14. Tony Stewart attempted a slide job on Kevin Ward Jr. Tony dove the car in low underneath Kevin, his car sliding up the track as he came off the turn. Tony would end up misjudging ever so slightly as his car pushed up the track, crowding Kevin's car, which would end up in the wall. Kevin's car would spin around a few times before finally coming to a rest. It was clear immediately that Kevin's night of racing was now over. The caution flag would come out, signaling that drivers need to slow down and hold their positions. As the cars began to slow, they made their way around the track and soon came up on the wrecked car of Kevin Ward Jr. Inside Kevin's car, a firestorm of anger was building. The young man would climb out of the wrecked vehicle before safety vehicles could make their way over. People in the stands watched as Kevin walked away from his vehicle and began walking down the track, clearly looking for the driver that had wrecked him. For those in attendance, this wasn't an unheard of event. Drivers are passionate, and Kevin wasn't the first driver to exit his vehicle and express his anger with another driver. But as many would point out, exiting your vehicle during a live race, whether it's under caution or not, is extremely dangerous. Kevin Ward would begin pointing his finger at Tony Stewart's vehicle as it approached at a reduced speed of around 40 to 50 miles per hour. The sequence of events that soon followed would become the focal point of intense scrutiny and legal debate. Ward would continue down the track, pointing at Tony's car, and then the unthinkable occurred. The back right rear of Tony Stewart's sprint car would clip Kevin Ward Jr. Kevin would be sucked underneath the tire before his body was thrown violently forward. His body would tumble across the dirt track before it finally came to a stop.
shit! Holy.
Kevin Ward was rushed to a nearby hospital after the incident. Sadly, there was nothing doctors could do, and he was pronounced dead almost immediately after arriving. A night of racing had turned deadly in a very unexpected way. The media would soon grab a hold of the story, and the debate about what happened would begin. The police would be called to the racetrack that same night. They took a statement from Tony Stewart, but no criminal charges were filed. In the aftermath, Ward's family was left looking for answers, while Tony Stewart was left defending himself on what had happened. The police investigation was soon underway. On September 11, 2014, a little more than a month after the incident, the police investigation was officially concluded. The sheriff would state that they found no evidence of criminal intent. The findings would be presented to a grand jury, and the grand jury deliberated for less than an hour and decided not to indict Stewart on charges of manslaughter in the second degree or criminally negligent homicide, finding insufficient evidence to support criminal charges. Tony Stewart would face no legal ramifications for what had happened that night. Ward's family did not agree with the police department's investigation. They soon hired their own team of experts to look at and review everything that took place. They had specialists reenact the events from that night, and they came up with a very different scenario than the police did. Kevin Ward's family alleged that Tony Stewart, aware of Ward's presence and possibly his own history of on-track altercations and anger issues, intentionally accelerated and swerved his car towards Ward, causing the tragic, fatal impact. They cited the analysis of racing experts who concluded Stewart's driving actions differed significantly from other drivers who had passed Ward, suggesting a deliberate maneuver according to Not Laboratory LLC. Not Laboratory LLC also reported Ward was struck by Stewart's right rear tire, sustaining injuries to his chest, heart, and spine. Tony Stewart, however, has maintained it was simply a tragic accident. He testified that he was unaware Ward had crashed behind him or was even out of his car and walking on the track. According to Stewart, he saw a figure, realized it was Ward running towards him, and applied the throttle to try and steer the car to the left, away from him. He claims the car's rear then slid to the right, striking Ward. A flagger on duty that night corroborated a part of Stewart's account, stating he saw Ward walk directly into the path of Stewart's right rear tire. Stewart also claimed he had never had a previous track incident with Ward. A toxicology report was run by the police department, and it did show marijuana in Kevin Ward Jr.'s system at the time of the accident. The district attorney noted this could have impaired his judgment. Kevin Ward's family had their own specialist look into the report, and they found that there was a large delay between Kevin's death and when they drew blood for the toxicology report. Based on the extended time frame, the levels found could have spiked within Kevin's body after he passed on. I think based on the evidence at hand that this toxicology report is at the very least thrown into question. I also don't think the results played a huge part in what really took place that night. Kevin Ward Jr.'s family would eventually file a wrongful death lawsuit against Tony Stewart. A confidential settlement would be reached for an undisclosed amount. The entire event sparked massive debate within the motorsports community regarding driver conduct under caution and the safety measures necessary to prevent such tragedies from reoccurring. Now, I know a lot of people will watch the video and have strong opinions one way or the other. To this very day, heated debates continue on. Did Tony Stewart do something horrible that night? Was Kevin Ward Jr. the one at fault? Was this just a tragic accident? In the end, I can see why people have such strong opinions. If you want to share your thoughts in the comment section below, I encourage you to do so, but please try to be respectful of one another. Now, I have watched the video a bunch. I watched it back when this tragedy took place, and I've watched it a bunch during my research for today's video. I also watched a documentary that came out not too long ago called The Hit. It's an investigative piece that dives into the tragedy and talks to Kevin Ward Jr.'s family and the experts they hired to reenact what happened. I think in the end, the documentary does some good stuff, but I also find it to be a bit one-sided. It feels at times like a hit piece against Tony Stewart, and I just don't think that's very fair. In my humble opinion, what happened on the evening of August 9, 2014 was a tragic accident. Tony Stewart is known as an aggressive driver, and he made a move on Kevin that didn't work out so well for Kevin. Kevin was upset over what happened, and he broke a rule that no driver ever should. He got out of his car and walked down the track towards the cars that were still actively driving around at 40 to 50 miles per hour. Kevin should have waited until after the race to confront Tony. Many drivers will wait and do so in the pits after the race is over. Kevin then walked down the track, put himself far too close to Tony Stewart's car. Now, many will argue that Tony gassed the car right before coming into contact with Kevin. If you're not familiar with sprint cars, they're powerful vehicles designed for high-speed racing, but the cars can also be very volatile. Also, in order to turn a sprint car to the left, a driver's instinct is to hit the throttle. This technique, called throttle steering, is a fundamental skill for dirt track racing, as the driver controls the car's rotation and angle by modulating the gas pedal in addition to using the steering wheel. Now, I wasn't in the car with Tony Stewart, but I do know how sprint cars work. I know how powerful they are in comparison to how lightweight they are. I also know that it was very dark, visibility is limited within those vehicles, and Kevin Ward was wearing almost all black. I think Tony came upon Ward, didn't expect Kevin to be as angry as he was, and I think instinct kicked in when he realized he may hit the kid. I think the instinct was to hit the throttle and turn the car underneath him, and he almost made it past Kevin, but sadly, the back tire caught him. That is my thought on the situation, but there's really only one person who knows for certain what happened, and that's Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart was there that night for the love of racing, and I feel pretty certain he had no intentions of trying to harm anyone that night. What ultimately took place was a pure and simple tragedy.
My worst enemy, I hope they would never be put in the position I got put in that night. I remember passing Kevin, and I remember half a lap later the caution comes out. We come around and I see his car. I was looking because I'm like, that's the guy I just passed. And I'm like, we didn't touch each other, and I was trying to figure out what happened, and I was looking at his car trying to see if, he was going to be able to get it fixed. And look up, and there he is on the racetrack. I had no idea he was out of his race car. There was nothing I could do to change what happened. And it's like you sit there and you try to rerun it in your mind over and over, and then you see the media get a hold of it. And then you read comments on social media that people are writing. And then you start questioning what you saw and what happened. You start questioning it off of what other people that weren't in the car and weren't even at that track are saying. And you catch yourself getting engrossed in all that.
As always, I want to take a moment to send my deepest condolences to all of Kevin Ward Jr.'s family and friends. A big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode. If you enjoy the content I make here on the channel, then please hit the like and subscribe button. There's also a new hype feature available that helps push smaller channels' videos, so if you enjoy my video, please consider using your hype to push my content. Also, you can check the description box below and find the link to my merch store and a link to my membership tier for the channel. For only $2.99 a month, you can help support my channel further, and you get some cool perks to go with it. One of those perks is having your name listed here in the end of each of my videos. So a big thank you goes out to all my Cellar Dweller members. Also, if you'd like to submit any kind of story idea, please do so using the email linked in the description box below. As always, I do all the research, the writing, recording, and editing for the channel myself, so anything that you do to help support this channel is greatly appreciated. And until next time, I will see you all again as we head back into the cellar.